I'll show up in my hands.
Oh, no, I like it.
It's comfy. It's my
All right, we're a live stream. Okay,
Right, well, let's start the meeting out then. Tonight is the City of Westminster Historic District Commission agenda. Wednesday, April 5th at 7 o'clock, we're meeting here at Emerald Hill. And I'm going to call us to order with our statement of authority. The Westminster Historic District Commission derives its authority from Chapter 164, Article 9A of the City Code, which is authorized by the Maryland Code Annotated Land Use Article Division 1, Single Jurisdiction Planning and Zoning, Title 8, Historic Preservation. Qualifications of the Westminster Historic District Commission are on file at the City Administration Building at 45 West Main Street, and the file is open to the public. I'd like to start us out with a quick roll call of those that are here.
Josh Chambers.
Chris Amadori.
Christy McMasters, we have a quorum with the three of us. However, we are expecting one more commissioner who may be stepping in a minute or two late. So let's start out with the approval of minutes. Do we have a chance to look over the minute item A?
Yes, and I'm happy to motion that we approve them as presented.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the December 7th minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none, then I'll ask for a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Then the minutes for December 7th are accepted.
Mayor, for 1 second.
Sure.
I think Grace might be over at the City Administration Building. She sent an email. She says the door's locked.
Oh,
So I'm wondering, unless she's at the front door, so
still
just
get
so
it.
you're aware, yeah, we're working through that.
Okay. All right, well, we'll keep working on item B under the approval of the minute summary for January 4th. Have we had a chance to look that one over? Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve the meeting minutes for January 4th,
Second,
2023.
I'm happy to second.
is there a discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
There's a consensus then to accept the January 4th minutes. I want to thank the city staff for preparing those. Thank you. All right, let's tackle old business. I wanted to bring you up to date on how we're doing with the Historic District Commission implementation plan. And I met with Sarah on March 16th, and Mark was there as well. And I have to say, just to start it out, I was very impressed. All of the places where we sent regulations or recommendations for adoptions and standards, she actually went to those places and looked at it. So she went to Lidditz, she went to Carlisle, she went to Chestertown.
Like physically she went?
Physically went and looked around their historic districts to see what they had.
Kind of doing a field trip.
Yeah.
What do you need to go do that? I was really impressed that she put so much effort and put a lot of homework into it. She freely admits this is not her comfort zone, but I can tell she's ready to put in the time and the effort to work for it. So if you remember, our implementation plan was strategy number 1. We had under strategy number 1, we had 2 bullets that said to basically reassess the city's historic structures and to update all the information for the city on some kind of a database. And we got to talk about that in depth. She's very in favor of us doing that. In fact, she recommended that we look at a funding source that Melissa will present later, right? And I had the feeling that whether that funding source came through or not, the city was still committed to doing it. So the funding source would be a plus. And we talked in depth of what would that inventory look like. And we talked a little bit about how it should be something easy enough that anybody can look up their address and have populated in the historic stuff from the books that we have and from the state listings, and then it be updated from the last 45 years so that it's something a little more modern. And we can work a little harder at how to integrate it into the city's GIS so that it is publicly available at no charge on a simple platform. So that was really exciting to hear her say, yeah, we should do this.
Hey, come on in. Never late, sorry.
No, you're not. All right, we're kind of in the middle of the update for the implementation plan. So those two top tier things were embraced by Sarah, and she says she will commit the staff and she'll commit the funds to getting those things done for the implementation. Strategy number 2 was to pursue funding for this updated documentation and to look into grants. Again, she was actually prepared with some grants that she wanted to look at. So that one was embraced. Also, the idea of embracing cultural landscape resources in addition to building resources was something that she embraced and said, could we do this as part of that inventory? And I said, yes, we can fill in that inventory with cultural landscape pieces. So that was great. And so I got a little star by, that was embraced by Sarah. Down to implementation number 3, generally the city needs more awareness. We talked about educational things and further opportunities for us to reach out to the public. And she was very interested and embracing the idea of more public education. However, I think as I was pitching it to her, I was beginning to realize how this is something we almost have to do more internally as well. Maybe we have to set up our own committee on public education so that we can say to Sarah or staff where we see that. You know, in the past, we had done certifications for real estate agents that talked about how tax credits could be done for new purchasers in the city. In the past, we've got, well, on our website, I think we have the link to YouTube where people can hit the YouTube link and understand how to get tax credits. We've also done targeted talks. So we may need to do more of the actual thought and targeting, but she was really up for more public education.
Notices of water bills.
And water bills, along with water bills. Anything we could think of, even individual letters, I mean, direct mailing. I think she would support doing that. It takes a lot of time, but it was something she was in favor of. All we have to do is have sort of a subcommittee who'll say, this, and this we'd like to do. And to break it down even further. We have here better signage for public education. That was a really important thing. And I know there's sort of 2 schools of thought on the signage, but right now the city is working on a signage plan. And just this month, as part of my report, I was going to be able to say I've already submitted to them some base edge signs saying you're entering the historic district. These are not educational waysides. These are just kind of marking our territory so that anyone who comes in casually or purchases a house will know off the main thoroughfares that they're in the historic district. So I sent examples to Mark, and as far as I know, Mark liked the examples I sent him, and hopefully they're being incorporated into the signage program. And maybe Melissa knows more on that topic, but I don't think there's any funding issues. Oh, Mark is
Mark is on the line. We could have-
We've already reached out to Public Works to get price quotes for signs, for entrance feature signs. We've gotten that amount. I've asked for the money within my budget. In my meetings with Sarah, it seemed acceptable for signage for those entrance signs. So that is moving forward. We are looking at unique ways of possible design, maybe reaching out to the public or other entities to maybe come up with some designs for the entrance signage versus just basically saying historic city limits, historic district limits, I mean. So that's on the way. So we are moving forward with that. And again, coordinated with Public Works and locations. So that actually is moving forward.
So that's great. Implementation strategy number 4. We talk about the fact that the archaeological focus of the city's resources we give lip service to in our ordinance, but we really have no other archaeological approach. And again, Sarah was supportive of getting that layer put into our new inventory project. And she was sort of surprised that we could hire a firm that has that expertise or can consult for that expertise. And we'll add that to the new inventory. So I have been trying to be helpful for that inventory because we have a looming date of May 1st. And I've reached out to 3 professionals that I know that can do this kind of work, and they're going to need some sort of budget. So I'm working kind of on the sides to help narrow the scope and hopefully get us some professionals that can get on this project. All right, so there's a, the city's running with this stuff in our listing. I didn't hear no to anything we presented, not a no. I got a, maybe Mark should look at it on the 20% targeted increase on a temporary basis for the historic tax credits. But that's where we ran out of energy. Like, you don't have any more staff time to do this. But I've got a lot of commitments, I think, and I feel like we're moving ahead.
How was your conversation on demolition?
That's the next step. But I think there's a feeling that we need to get the inventory up and going, and then demolition and other things can be handled, especially if we do an educational piece first.
So once we start the inventory, we could start working on the other, okay. Instead of having them overlap and not wait for one to be finished, because that'll take.
Nothing needs to be threaded. However, I think it'd be really helpful to get the signs up, for example, so that we can't hear the excuse we didn't know. Yeah. All right, so that's how far I've gotten. Do I have any other questions? I think I did pretty good, actually, considering it's a negotiation. Got about halfway through. So. And I think we need to do our homework too. I think we need to be involved as well, especially with the educational components. All right, well, if you think of anything during the month, feel free to ask me and I'll try to have answers for it.
Yeah, the only comment I would make is I think that, like you said, the demolition doesn't need to be single threaded. We can create new moratoriums or new processes for demolition without having surveyed everything.
Yeah. I think Sarah's really thinking in order to tackle this whole list, it's a 3-year type of project to really get everything in place from where we're starting. And we're just starting at the start. We're just working ourselves down methodically. Okay.
Sorry, and not to belabor the point, I would just say that's an example though of, I don't think it needs to take 3 years to revise our policies around it. It might take 3 years to finish our survey. It might take 3 years to put all the signs up. But, to improve our process for demo should not take 3 years. That can be a 2-month process.
So Mark, did you look into the tax credits and what that would take?
Any change to the tax credits would require a change to the code. We would have to do an amendment to the city code itself. I did have a question about that. Number 1 talks about expand any existing Westminster National Historic Register of Historic Places nominated. Essentially, I think what I'm understanding, you're asking that the tax credit would be available to historic properties, not just within the historic district.
So ultimately, I think I would work with our commissioners here and push for that. But for an immediate 20% pop in tax credits for now, I would be happy with just our existing rules and regulations about who's eligible within the historic district.
Well, I wanted to touch on the eligibility first. Right now, eligible properties are properties located within the city's local historic district, properties listed individually in the National Register of Historic Places, or contributing properties located within a National Register district. So it's not just limited to the city of Westminster historic district, and that's today. So when that's come up before, I've wondered what the thought was. So it goes beyond currently goes beyond just the city's historic district. But
That's a whole new read from what I knew.
I'm reading it.
amazing.
Yeah, it's directly, it's out of the 3 elements of the eligible properties. That's all 3 of them currently.
I'm stunned because we've never, it hasn't been our practice. It's always been within the district.
Yeah,
But if we can expand that, we've already hit a couple of our wish list items. That's stunning.
exactly. And so then the go from 10 to 20%, that would be a text amendment. I know we talked about maybe limiting that to a certain number of years to try to encourage people to take advantage of it. So again, that would be an act of the mayor and common council to approve that.
I'm a little stuck back on our reinterpretation of eligibility.
It's not a reinterpretation. It's listed. As far as I know, it's always been this way. I don't know.
Yeah, we actually told Roots Mill they weren't eligible years ago, 15 years ago, because they weren't within the district.
I'm wondering if this was updated since that time frame or since that time.
Yeah, it's super interesting. We would want to know what the geographic
Yeah.
parameters are. I mean,
That's just
I'm
the
thinking of
thing.
all people I know in Old House that might want
I'm thinking about people at Kemper Avenue, for example, who would be considered now basically eligible.
to, so I think we'll need to definitely dive into that one.
Mark, that's really stunning. I can't tell you how big a leap that is.
Well, I'll send you the section that we're talking about, so you guys have a chance to look at it. And yeah, it might be a little bit more expansive than we originally thought.
And that certainly would sync up with education efforts because we'd have a whole new reason why to spread the message far and wide.
Literally, yeah. There's a lot of people who weren't previously considered eligible. I don't know how we recouch this, but it's amazing.
And I think the education aspect of it, I view that as more of a just do it. If there's things that HCC wants to work on for documentation, we do have money still in the budget now. There's mailing, so I don't think there's anything holding up the HDC from working to come up with some, whether it's a document or a pamphlet or updating the ones we have currently. That's certainly something we could be working on.
Wow. 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 I might not sleep tonight. It's got my brains just completely whirling. I wonder when that happened. Because I know we weren't consulted about any kind of change.
The last
So-
change looks like it was in 2001.
Wow.
So I don't know
That is-
I don't know what it was, but yeah. Actually, there
Well,
was
Mark, that is great news. You don't have to ask a lawyer about this, right? You feel very confident as director of planning.
yes, I will send it to you. If you read it differently than I do, please let me know, but I will send you that section and you read over it.
You're the legislator, you're the regulator, so if
Yes.
you read it that way, I'm willing to run with it.
Again,
I
that's
just-
how I'm reading it.
I'm a little dyslexic, so my English has never been all that great. So that's terrific, Mark. That is unbelievably terrific. It just opens up a whole new horizon of folks who could be eligible. And you know, the other thing, Mark, is it starts with your staff in so many ways because people come to you first. And in the past, if they were told they weren't eligible right away, we wouldn't even really known about it. Wow.
Exactly. And I want to thank Melissa, being the Economic Development Coordinator and Main Street Manager. Every time we meet with people, we offer this tax credit concept and the facade improvement grants. Even though we don't have any money available now for facade improvement grants, we will be asking for some more. But we are, when we meet with downtown businesses or residents, we mention this to them.
Yeah, and those pots are different than our tax credits. So there's no reason why you can't ask for a facade grant and our tax credits. They're not exclusive. Who knows, someday we may get enough credits out there, you could actually make money on doing this, you know? Wouldn't that be stunning?
Yeah.
Okay, fabulous. Wow, do we have any questions? I'm kind of rolling my head over and over again. Anything?
I would just ask Mark that when you share that language, if you could send it to the whole group, I think we'd all be interested in taking a look.
Please.
Oh, I will.
Thank you.
How would the group feel about us firing up a letter during the month and sharing it? Because we do have some end of year funds we can get rid of on mailing.
Yeah.
And might as well, because we kind of have thought about all the funds for next year already. So, how about Mark, your staff side? Do you have the capacity for direct mailing?
I do not know. We'll have to look into that. Do we? Is Melissa
No.
saying yes?
I'm like pretending to lick envelopes and no,
Stick in the stamp postcards.
we could
We
do it,
haven't-
yeah,
We have an envelope machine downstairs that,
that's true, we don't have to lick envelopes.
Well, there are also companies
2023.
that do this kind of work, you know, they take care of it for you.
There's marketing companies do everything.
Yeah.
That's what we
Yeah,
do.
postcards, probably cheaper
Mm.
than letters. That's a.
Let's see the language and then we can maybe circulate a draft
Draft to go.
before our next meeting.
Yeah, I don't want to wait. That is fabulous. Okay, good. Anything else for the implementation plan? I'm sad Kevin's not here to hear this, but hopefully he'll see it in the minutes. All right, the nation's 250th. I've asked for that to be a permanent place on the agenda because I've been talking it up to various groups and I talked about it with Sarah. And I said, what do you know about the 250th and the city's response to it? Is there something happening out there? And she says, no. If you'd like to discuss it with the Historic District Commission to make it something they do, be my guest. So she kind of threw it back in our laps. And Josh mentioned last month that maybe we would like to do some sort of workshop like we did last summer, where we could sit down and talk about perhaps what role we'd like, what kind of projects we might like to see, how we'd like to invite in partners perhaps, you know, what could we put together to offer to the city for their thought? We are kind of the logical group, especially working with planning, to think 3 years ahead. So I'm gonna throw that out to the table and see how you guys think.
I like that idea.
You guys have any interest in the 250th?
Yeah,
Yeah, oh yeah.
I don't wanna be the only one.
3 years is quite a while away yet though.
Yes, but if we
I
want
know,
to
come
be real,
fast.
It comes
So
back,
fast.
yeah, you're right.
if we want like a bridge or something,
Now is the time to start.
yeah, get our name in before some baseball player gets their name in, you know?
A bridge.
We're gonna build a bridge.
Oh, okay.
Gateway, whatever. Sarah also mentioned to me that there's a great interest in public art. So maybe there's somehow a way to include public art into a 250th that evokes history or an ornamental sort of thing that evokes our time period that's really a piece of art. So she had ideas and said that actually art is fundable right now. So it might be something realistic that we could do. Did I miss any part of that, Mark? Did I skip anything on that topic?
no, I think that covered it.
Yeah. But again, Sarah was very, very supportive of us picking something up and going with it.
That sounds good. I think I would just encourage us to pick a date. But
Let's do it right now. You guys have your calendars?
Mine's in my head, I left my phone in the car.
Is there, so she had some ideas, can she send us her ideas or can the staff send us ideas or?
She bounced them off me. Oh, poor Grace. How do I get into?
It's all right, I thought I was at the, I'm like, there's nobody here.
Well, Sarah actually found a potential grant
Ooh.
application that she did and that we talked about that night, and she has shared it with Melissa. So I know Melissa's looking into that. grant.
See, Melissa's further down the agenda.
Okay,
You're referring to the MHT grant?
Yes.
yeah.
Because we're talking about artwork.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
All right, guys, so let's pick a date while we're all here. And because I'm retired, I'm gonna be a little quiet. How about you guys? What looks good for your schedules?
Is this to meet to talk about this?
Yeah, we need a little workshopping time to think about what's our role. You know, what do we consider things we want to be involved with? Who do we want to invite?
Could we possibly meet an hour earlier on that would be a month away.
Well, I think a month away is the very earliest that I could do it, to be honest.
Okay, so what about an hour before, would an hour be enough to just to toss around?
I think it's a great idea.
So that would be May 3rd.
I can't do that. Sorry,
Nope.
I could do the following month, I could do June, but I can't do that May 3rd.
Are you gonna even be here May 3rd?
Though, if ever it works for everybody else, I mean, go ahead, I can submit ideas before you.
That would be June 7th, so. Yes. Tentatively,
That would be at 6 o'clock. You could be here at 6. How about you, Grace? You're still
Yeah.
working?
Yeah, I finish work at 4:30. Usually out of there on time. Usually.
How about Melissa? Would somebody be here to open the building?
Which date?
June 7th.
June 7th.
That's 6 o'clock.
Yes, yeah,
At 6.
absolutely.
Cool, it's on the calendar.
And that's basically an informal workshopping, right? So we don't need to have an agenda or anything for that.
Bring snacks.
Yeah.
so have it here, yeah, I guess so, if we're gonna have a meeting here, okay.
6, 7, 6 p.m. All right, great. So I just to sort of what your appetites on the 250th, brought some show and tell. And we all know about the 200th thing that Christopher Weeks did on the city, the building of Westminster. Well, this was a 200th commemoration for 1964 for the city of Westminster. That was also, the bill was footed by the city of Westminster.
The year I was born.
Really? And again, it's a historical piece. What I really like is partially through Mary Shellman did some memories. And she would, at this time, was pretty advanced. She was in her 50s in 1964. And she remembered everybody on Main Street, like literally every store owner, what their ethnicity was, what they sold, what their story was. And it's so interesting to try and compare what she wrote with actual addresses. That's kind of fun. So anyway, hopefully we can do something meaningful. I'm not sure what, but something to get us going.
This is very cool. Oh, that's what we're on now.
Right.
Hasn't changed.
All right, anything else on the 250th that people want to bring up? I mean, I'm sure we're gonna do a parade, 4th of July parade. Somebody's gonna do it. And that's not usually a city thing, is it, Mark? Like Abby does some of them?
Reenactments?
What, I missed the question.
Is there a lead in the city for the parades?
Recreation and Parks does the one in around Christmas time,
Oh, Christmas Day.
The Miracle on.
the Miracle on Main Street parade.
And who sponsors the,
Memorial Day. Right.
well, that's the American Legion,
Legion, yeah.
but who does the Fall Fest?
The city.
The city. So, you know, if we recommended a parade, we have another branch of government to work through. Yeah. All right. Well, 3 years is some time for them to work on it.
I was gonna say, if this entity could suggest that as one of the options, bring forth among the other ideas. Could come from this body, yeah.
Definitely. I don't think we have the bandwidth to do it, right? You know what I mean? But to suggest that we find a way to do it would be great. If we all decide that's something.
And volunteer too,
Good.
possibly, okay.
And always goes
There's
over.
a lot of
T-shirt?
opportunities for those.
Alrighty, so 250th. Okay, any other things about the 250th? All right, how about the review of architecture for 71 to 73 West Main Street?
Everybody has the plans in front of them. Nothing big gigantic ones, but it looks like everyone's pretty sufficient. I know we reviewed this, I think, 2 months ago, everyone kind of looked. These are the plans that were submitted for permits. So there was already a permit for what the front has currently on here that you guys saw. But we had to submit for a new permit with the updated plans. So the city and the county both have these. So I'm really looking for just your guys' opinion and maybe some guidance on the aesthetics of the building. I think it's probably the third time you guys have looked at it.
So
But
these are different than what you submitted 2 months ago?
the only difference is the siding on this particular one. It's the siding. The siding's vertical instead of horizontal.
So it's gonna toss in my 2 cents on the vertical.
Yeah.
and-
So, different than what's existing.
Well, on the side currently it's horizontal, but that's only been there for 15 years. So
Let me just throw this out. Usually vertical indicates an industrial use. Like a passenger depot for a train or something.
Well, it's really popular right now in farmhouse style.
Right, but that's not farmhouse.
Yeah, and it's popular is different than sympathetic with the historic.
understand,
And I do have a question.
Go ahead.
The one, I think the one other thing that we pointed out was, I thought. So the stairs, like I originally thought that was a handicap stair, but you said it was just stairs to the front door, and we thought perhaps if it would just recede a little bit instead of having that industrial look.
It cannot because of the code. So the stairway right in the front, you're asking if they
Like the bars, can they be like,
we're gonna,
that's what
this
that,
is just the standard. Yes, I'm gonna put notes in here for
Oh,
when I came back. I know we talked about possibly doing like wire or something where you didn't really see them.
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I know you have to have stairs there.
Yes.
I just thought it was like.
I think it's more gonna be, like, you'd see it like a wire, it's kind of
Thinner look.
thinner, so you won't see it. There's already siding on the side currently, and we have to wrap what's being built, which is that back area. So figured, hey, farmhouse, for me, the farmhouse look that is popular right now is going back to the farmhouse era, which is historic, even because it used to be the paneling on the side. So I understand that part, but we were mainly focused on the front of the building and trying to keep the aesthetics for that. And I know we had talked about, because in the previous plans, the door here was an issue about knocking down that door or just putting a window there. And we kind of had plans about putting glass in front of the door.
Something that's to block people from trying to enter, but that
Exactly.
maintains the door itself.
So that can be changed if that's what you guys are really looking for, to have the door there. And just have this glass go in front of that. So that's one thing that we're willing to do, is, look for a sort of door to put there in its place and just put the glass over the front, but keep everything else that's here the same. We can, if you would prefer the door to still be there behind, instead of just having this open glass, but the doorway and all the aesthetics to that are going to be there. And then, we were also proposing, possibly putting a plaque down here at the bottom where the brick is, in pose of the door being there. If we were to put a plaque that talks about the historic significance of the building where the brick is down here, or in between those two doors on the side, and just talk about the building, when it was built, there's historical significance in there, it's in the historic downtown district. When you guys are planning or doing anything with like the different buildings that are historic downtown, it could be mentioned in that as well. So that was another one of the suggestions that we were kind of coming up with. But like I said, the plan is we're currently having the budgets all being worked out. The contractors should have it to me within the next week or two. So I'll be able to submit it for next month's meeting. So I really just wanted to see if there's any like standout 100% will not approve things. I can have them change or at least make notes to that on the plans for review for next month.
So the idea is reversibility. So if there's a way you can leave as much of the door and the hardware with the door, and maybe put it behind a frosted glass so that it doesn't fake people into trying to get into that entry. That is optional. I mean, that's optimal, because someday somebody could say, hey, you really need a door there now for some new fire code, or you need a door. Can we still use that historic door that's there?
Yes, and that's why I thought with keeping the frame, keeping the exterior frame and all the aesthetics from that door in place like it has here, that is an option to be able to put that back, because we're not putting real brick down at the bottom. That would just be, something to show that, hey, this is not a door, it's just glass. In that area, the door frame, everything's gonna be there besides the door, we're just putting glass in front of that. The
And-
railings,
And the molding around the windows, and at the top, you're gonna keep
The cornice work.
all of that, yeah, all of that, and it states here in the plans, all of that is gonna be put back. We're gonna refinish what is there and do the best means and method to reproduce, or find a craftsman to put. There's one missing, it's this top right corner. That one is not there, so we'll be making a new one to put back in place.
So what you'll want to do in order to get that as part of your tax pitch is to say it's a replacement in kind. So it's probably wood, and you'll replace
It
it
is.
with wood.
It won't be like a composite.
I think composite's okay as long as it's 51% wood.
Okay.
I've done that.
That kind.
Yeah, awesome.
But that's really what I wanted to see if by looking at these plans, I understand the railing, and I believe there's a note inside of here that state, as long as it meets the code, it's the aesthetics of the railing can be changed.
Yeah, but I think that just takes away the facade.
I agree. I tried to get away from that, but because of the door and everything else you have.
Well, just the railing, I mean, if you just.
I'm
do
talking
that,
about
that would be-
the iron railing, something like that.
Something that would be more visible.
Historic kind of looking.
I think this is Dean Camlin, and it's
Yeah.
probably, a template.
Yeah.
It is. Yep, so
What
the
a
key part is really just putting in the notes, the changes that can be made.
And what color is this gonna be?
So the plan right now is for white. So the building is currently white.
Yeah.
We are going to have the paint that's there removed to see what the brick looks like behind. Ideally, if it's not terrible, we would do brick, because that's what the rest of downtown kind of looks like with that brick, and get that restored. But we're not gonna know until we take that paint off. And I don't know how many layers of paint are on there. So at this point, most likely what we would like to get approved is that we are going to repaint. And if we take it down and it is in good condition, we'll just get the brick refinished. Because the brick on the side in between this building and rock salt is currently exterior brick, and we are not gonna put anything over top of that. Right now, the side that you can see here on the right side does currently have siding on it. So we're gonna put vinyl siding back on it.
The unfortunate part, I hate to be pessimistic, and I hope you prove me wrong. That when they put up vinyl siding, they drill into the wall. And they usually do a lot of damage to the underwall. And part of the reason why they put siding up is because there's a crack or something happening. So it's just something to think about, that there's often a lot of damage underneath that siding. That's why we don't really approve new siding for anybody, because of all the historic damage it does.
Well, there's siding already there.
I know, but I'm just saying, be prepared, because there's probably holes there now too.
Oh, yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. On the side, that's why we're putting siding back up where there was.
Well, I
siding.
thought you were gonna try and.
No,
It's talking about the front.
Front top,
for the front of the building. Yes, for the front of the building.
yeah, be prepared.
Yeah, so the front of the building is brick and it's painted. So right now in the plans, we have to paint the brick like it is right now.
Sure.
If we're gonna remove the paint before we paint again, if it is able to be repaired, we're gonna do that. But
Just to be as brick color, like natural brick,
exactly.
like the side,
If-
walk down the side.
Yep, but right now it's painted, so we would like to have it, approved as painted, and then on the side. There's vinyl siding there, so we're putting vinyl siding back up.
I just think you're gonna run into troubles with this and the federal credit. They'll tell you it's gotta be the same orientation. I mean, I know this is popular, but they're gonna say gotta be the same orientation, because this is not really residential.
You mean the siding?
I know, but vinyl siding isn't,
Yeah.
The point is, vinyl siding isn't historic. It's
I know.
vinyl, so,
But see, they're not gonna let you step into supposing, you know what I mean? They're gonna say you've got evidence of what you have. That's the evidence we have to stick with versus saying, yeah, it doesn't really matter. So, I guess. we'll find out.
and I mean, I can see where that is coming from, but. It's plastic siding, and plastic, siding wasn't around in 1870 when the building was put up, so.
Right now though, because I don't remember, what's on the side now? Does it run horizontally?
It does.
That's
So
why I'm saying the vertical's kind of.
why don't you just, I'm confused why you don't want to do it horizontally if that's the way it is now, because it looks like a clapboard.
Now it is sideways and that's fine, but I would like to be able to turn it vertical. Because we're keeping the front aesthetics of the building are really, what keeps the aesthetics of the downtown.
We're paying for the whole building.
Understand.
And you can see this, when you walk, you can see that when you drive down the street, the whole side, so it's not like that's hidden in the back.
I mean, if I have to turn it horizontal to get the credit approved, I'll turn it sideways. That's
So I'm
horizontal.
asking, so you just like the aesthetics of it?
There's a building right across the street that is exactly like this, that's new and is.
Oh,
putting
that
up-
garage?
No, the
No.
Victorian on the corner opposite the
Oh,
gas station.
that
is
Just
in there.
did they just redo
They
that?
just redid it, it's white, it looks
They-
great,
they
it's
did
right
it.
next to the gas station, it's
They just
Batman,
redid
it's important that, or,
Careful, eat
I don't
that.
know what you're talking about.
yeah, I mean,
But they didn't get any kind of tax assistance or anything. They just did
Understand,
whatever they
but
wanted.
it looks great. It looks great, and, we were gonna do the same thing right across the street. Again, we're trying to meet what you guys are looking for to keep the historic aspects of the building. But to invest in a project like this, that is a dilapidated building that looks like it's gonna fall over, we also have to attract, tenants that are going to pay to invest, $750,000 into downtown. So I'm trying to find a way to make that happen. if you're saying that we need to make the siding horizontal, we can make the siding horizontal, and I can present that to you guys at, next month meeting. With the budgets.
What about, and this is probably over the top expensive, brick facade? On the side,
That would,
It would change that.
yeah, that would.
He's trying to get his budgets in the next couple of
That would
days.
okay, yeah, okay, that's
That
what
would
we
change
got.
everything, like I have budgets for siding, it doesn't matter if I turn it horizontal or vertical,
And do you
yeah.
know what the condition of the brick is underneath the,
I do not.
okay, so what if it turns out that it's happens to be really nice?
But I'm adding
He's gonna
1,000 square feet on the back. So then I have to do
Making
brick.
addition, he's got.
So then I would have to do the back brick, because then we'd be fighting on the same
Yeah.
thing about the siding. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So we're redoing the existing brick that you can see, we're redoing the existing brick in the alley that people walking in between the two buildings are gonna see, and revitalizing that. We're taking care of all of the other woodworking on the front and everything.
I'm just saying, vertical siding is not what this building would have ever seen historically. And although the vinyl siding is probably 50 years old, maybe 60 years old, it's not 100 years old.
Aluminum is 50 or 60, but before that, it was asbestos tiles would have been on the side or something like that. I just figured there's vinyl siding on it right now, I'm just putting vinyl siding back up. But if you guys, are saying.
Verticality says industrial. And like farmhouses have barns, but the houses themselves aren't vertical. The barns are vertical.
We could argue that farmhouses are historical though, and that's.
The houses themselves are definitely, and so are the barns, but it's not a sympathetic fit to this application, is what I'm saying. At least in my mind, but I don't know how the other.
They took the farmhouse aesthetic from the, like, as far as I can understand, from the barns and decide, and then people liked it, so then they built houses with that aesthetic. That doesn't mean that those are historic I agree, the house across the street, I think they did a good job, but that's not historic to that house. That's not what they did, yeah.
No, it's not historic to the house.
And they cleaned it up.
I suppose they cleaned it up nicely.
Yeah, I mean,
looks really good.
it worse.
It could have.
I mean.
But that's what everybody likes right now, but that's so.
Understand, and
And I like
someone
it,
else is gonna
but-
change that siding again down the road, so
And
you're going to have a battle with the siding for.
Well, only if they can
long
do what's
periods of
first.
time.
Yeah.
Well, so, yeah, I'm just saying that siding's gonna be getting changed over and over again, the lifespan of this building. So the front is really the key aspect that is what, you guys have the ability to help out with. Keeping in the historic, appearance over, so I assume that the front of the building was really the biggest.
It is, but we fund the entire project, and so we have an interest in the entire project being sympathetic. If we were to put only our attentions in the front and say, we don't care what's happening with the rest of the building, it'd be kind of silly, because the other 3/4 may not be sympathetic with the front. You see what it is, you don't segment buildings like that. You look
I
at
got
them.
you, so is it just the siding on the side, everything else looks good, like everything else? Is good,
I would say, yeah. But I don't know how the rest of our commissioners do.
No, you did make an effort to work with the front, and it's process. So.
Josh, you've been
Yeah, no comment.
dominating the conversation.
My thing is the railings on the front, but if that's gonna get changed, and the siding. But the railings are the one that.
We can be full-throated with the siding change.
hey,
Let's put it that way.
no worries,
Full-throated
Again.
and supportive.
that's fine. It's very easy for them to change the lines on the side of the
I bet
paper,
you're surprised.
and no, it's okay, it's still gonna look a lot better than it does now, so
Absolutely,
whether it's vertical or not,
and who knows what the style of next year will be.
so.
So I have to thank you so much for
Thank you.
coming.
Yes, and then how would you guys like the budget broken down? Because that's gonna be important too, right? So when I'm presenting this at the next meeting, you guys wanna see the budget, so do I need to have exterior work broken down, interior work broken down, what does that look like, is there a template?
There's no template, but it's important to give us details. We don't need to know the cost of every door handle. But usually when you bid this stuff out, it comes back with a level of detail. And hopefully when you bid it out with some guidelines so that it'll come back in similar bids.
Mhm.
But whatever you get back, you don't have to repackage it. We've seen budgets before. We can pick through and see. We're gonna wanna see at least two.
Mhm.
One of them will be what you designate as your preferred, which does not have to be the cheapest, by the way. You're gonna have a preference. It may be workmanship that is your preference, or it may be something else, but you're gonna have a preference of the 2 or 3 or 4, whatever you bring us. And you're gonna wanna look at both of them just to sort of make sure that they're in line. If there's a huge difference, you're gonna wanna be able to explain to us why.
Is that a point of clarification, isn't it correct that we really are concerned with the exterior budget, what he does on the inside, there's, you know,
We fund the
Totally.
inside as well.
but they're different funds, aren't there?
So it comes from the single fund.
Okay.
We fund the interior and we want to see a level of detail, and I mean, you may remember the restaurant that just went in downtown, there was a question about one of the kitchen tables being mobile enough that it could be sold off separately from the real estate. There was a question about some of the bar mirrors and whether they were mobile enough to be sold off separately. We don't fund things that are mobile, like appliances.
Yeah, with that, none of that stuff will be inside of the budget, I think the only thing will be like the HVAC systems will be in there, but I think that's more for when submit for. After the work's been done, yeah, I know I have to come back and fill out another thing, to show that it's all been done for it to actually be funded. And yes.
So what happens is all your financial items have to be upfront, even the HVAC system. Everything in this package has to be upfront. Then your resubmission is to say, I did what I said I was going to do.
Yeah, I'm thinking no furniture, there won't be any furniture or anything in here, this is literally just for the.
And some people don't kind of understand that, and even if it was a built-in banquette, we'd say, okay. As long as it can't be removed at sale. It's an
Everything is
investment in the
firmly
building.
attached to the building,
It's-
so,
It conveys.
gotcha, yep, 1000%, everything will be attached and not removable.
Yes,
But he would need 2 quotes for the HVAC system
yes,
and everything, okay, so
every,
you're clear. Okay,
Yeah,
we're
yep,
good.
I think
everything,
it's a good idea anyhow.
no,
Yeah.
we're shooting for 3 or 4, so that's the goal, to present 3 or 4, you have a good idea, but I know a minimum of 2 with horizontal siding
Yeah,
on the
and-
plans and notes for the railing.
right, and you don't have to go through and re-massage what they did, because sometimes we can see, like, when it comes to fixing your mortar work or your brick work, we're gonna wanna see, like, how are they gonna fix it? Are they gonna sandblast it? Are they gonna use peel away? What are they gonna do to fix it, And they'll usually tell you that.
Mhm.
But if you were to take a template and try and drop all the budgets in, we'll lose all that detail. So it's good for us to see what
It's
contractors.
go for what you guys are looking for with the prices. Got it, covered.
Anything else from you guys? Did they get it? All right. Do you have any other questions?
I don't, I think I'm good.
If you have anything that comes along, Melissa's a phone call away.
I do know that we have been in touch.
She knows how to get me.
Perfect.
All right, great. Well, thank you very, very much. And this is great. We look forward to working with you. Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right, are we ready to move on to new business? Now I'm looking at Melissa because apparently she's been working on the funding for the inventory.
Yeah, so unfortunately, it's not a whole lot of new information. Okay, so I'm jumping to item B.
Oh, okay.
So item A, pursue funding for inventory of historic buildings of entire city, including cultural landscape.
Kind of already
It's
discussed.
kind of a discussion that we just had at the very beginning, yes. To kind of shore up what exactly we're asking for, what the inventory entails. I don't know if we need to share any more details about that.
I thought of a couple other things.
Go ahead, yeah.
For example, if we did a Greek exhibit with the Historical Society, and we have a Greek overlay of where Greek businesses were in town, it's sort of like a ethnic overlay. I know there's Irish town here. I'd like to do an Irish overlay, and also any other ethnic overlays that we can locate. And so that would be something we would actually schedule.
That'd be very cool.
And as long as we do it now, it's not a big deal, right? We can add these overlays in all we want if we have the data to support it. So it's just after the work's been done, coming back and patching it in might be much harder.
So as far as the grant that we were talking about, the Maryland Historic Preservation Capital Grant, which you referenced a May 1st deadline. So still trying to figure out if this project will be eligible for these fundings, working with Barbara Fisher to identify that. She's the program administrator with the state. As it exists on their guidelines, it's really for an acquisition or rehab or pre-development costs associated with a capital project. So the question is this a pre-development cost related to lots of possible capital projects that can happen? And if they would be able to have us apply for this. The grant is for up to $100,000, which should more than cover a consultant. But it's also a dollar for dollar match. So this is the time to put it in the budget and put something out there. Even, I don't think, what could you lose? Where we are today, kind of a learning opportunity. Something that I learned as far as eligibility is, so we don't have any properties on the historic register that are located within this historic district. However, the district itself is located on the register. So this particular grant speaks to, how do they put it, a contributing structure to the district, which you might have a little more information on what that means.
So contributing structures are any structures that support the intent of the district and its full extent. So for example, the district was drawn in 1978 around structures. There are structures in the corner that are all contributing that help make that boundary. So anything within the boundary is considered contributing unless it's something like a gas station that really damaged the district. And I don't want to pick on any particular business because that's not kosher, but you can imagine downtown, there's probably a structure or two that has been built with no historic considerations whatsoever, out of scope, out of style, something that was like a franchise maybe. That's the kind of thing that does damage to a historic district.
And also, listed anybody who was already on the register or who intends to be on the register. So we could look a little wider as well, like Roops Mill is on here, Rockland Farm, Union Mills, those are out of the city, but a few of them are in the city, something just to consider as we're moving forward with this project. So I will do my best to follow up with her tomorrow and next week and see if I can kind of shore up what's going on with this particular grant. And then I had also added, the cultural landscape portion of it to this project. Something else just to bring up, I did find our 2005 resurvey forms.
Yes, I didn't know anyone still have those.
So these are with, city files, and I only printed 5 of them, but there's a considerable amount. So was this the project that commission members went around and walked the streets, and I can pass this around?
We went 3 years on a Saturdays. Every Saturday we met for 3 years and walked the city. Dedication. Yeah. And we went to breakfast afterwards.
As you should have, yeah. So that sort of, just another conversation would help educate me. What do we do with this documentation?
So we had an offer from the city for them to do a new layer with that information.
Okay,
And the GIS guy at the time said he would do the data entry or find an intern to do the data entry. And I think he never expected us to take 3 years and have hundreds of pages. And honestly, staff changes, I'm not sure all of them were kept. Because we did almost all of Main Street, all of Green Street, all of Pennsylvania Avenue. And on the east side of town, we did most of the cross streets within the historic district. So I'd say we got at least 2/3 of all those structures in the historic district were resurveyed then. But they were never data entered.
okay, so they're in a digital file, all as like one PDF, and you know, somebody could type this up and put
Yes,
that in.
somebody could.
But the idea is that a contractor would do this, essentially.
Well, contractor, yeah, because now it's 20 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. So contractor might want to take that and go, oh, Lord, is this building still here?
Right, right, but essentially the same concept applied today. Okay,
And we photographed everything and Dean Cameron has all those photographs.
okay.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, we were
Yes, you were. Every song day for 3 years.
every Saturday. Unless it was really, really, really cold.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say.
But we tried to meet extra Saturdays.
And we probably have those too, honestly, on our file drive.
I can't believe you found those.
So, work still to be done on funding sources. Do you know of any other avenues I can look?
So there is a historic district coordinator with the state.
Okay,
And maybe you could call them and say, hey. Got any ideas for money for our
Okay.
historic district? And keep your ears way open, because there might be money for plaques, but not for inventories.
Yeah.
You know, things like we might want in the future that we're not asking for now.
I would like to see that sample copy that you have.
oh, yeah, here you go. Yeah,
I still have it on my computer.
there's 5 of them in the back that I printed out.
Is this one filled out or is this just the?
Yeah, it's filled out.
This one's filled out.
Yeah, there's 5 of them.
Crappy handwriting.
So that's 5 properties, they're just one sheet a piece.
Wow. I'm impressed.
Yes. There were 4 of us, Lori Walters, Susan Thomas, Greg Goodell, and Chris McMaster, so all 4 of us were there for that one. Makes me smile.
Did they found?
But we went half speed because all 4 of us were there at the same time, for the same. We all had to agree to these,
Oh, wow.
so usually we broke up, Lori and me,
Yeah,
Greg
that
and
makes
Sue.
sense.
480 pages. Oh,
We could do between 10 and 12 a week, so divide that up as how many weeks that took us. But the city never came up with an intern. So we sort of stopped.
73 years, yeah.
40 weeks.
40 weeks.
Yeah. It was actually really good for us, because when we stood in front of people's houses with clipboard, they all came out to talk to us.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Wait
to
for the
us?
house.
What are you doing? And when they were from the city, they would be like, what?
You gonna raise it back?
No, we're here to help. Well, thank you, Melissa. That's an unexpected treat.
Oh, good, I'm
I
glad.
can't believe you found that. Goodness. All right. So are we down to C?
Yes.
I wanted to bring up the Flower and Jazz Festival, make sure you guys keep that clear on your calendar if possible. Mother's Day weekend. Do we want to start thinking about shifts again, 10 to 2, 10 to 12, 12 to 2, 2 to 4? If you know what your shift is already.
10 to 12.
Oh, I was gonna say 10. How many do we need for each? I can do more than 2 hours.
I like doing 12 to 2.
Yeah,
So if you're doing 10 to 12, I'll do 12 to 2.
I could do 11 to 1. I
There you
could
go.
straddle
Oh,
that.
What you, Mr. Judge, do you?
I need a refresher on what this is.
Mother's Day weekend.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
Maybe on.
I think it's the 13th.
I think it is.
Gonna say, Melissa, you should have this one etched on your heart.
13th, Josh.
Yeah,
May
May
13th.
13th, Saturday.
1-3.
13th from 10 to 4.
Cool.
And whoever does the early shift has to set up.
Huh?
I don't know. I can be there. I mean. I'm
And
down for that.
whoever does the late
Yeah,
shift
I'm,
has to.
I'm happy to do 10 to 12.
I'll come at 10. I can stay, I mean, I stay longer, I mean, we all,
Sit around top.
yeah.
I want to walk and shop and eat, you know.
That's why I like doing it.
I know.
I get my sandwich first and I come and just eat and sit. But I can, you know, you can also bring friends. Like if there's someone who you'd like to have chat you up. You know, I have a girlfriend who would probably come and hang out, you
Cool.
know, so. I mean, it's doesn't hurt to have more people behind.
I
the
can come
table.
to help you set up.
Thank you.
I can stay late, I mean, I don't have to shop.
Yeah, I'm putting it down for 10 in my calendar.
Oh, well, gang's all here.
Yeah, that's.
Okay, and hopefully Kevin will take the 2 to 4.
He'll know everybody.
He'll know everybody. All right, so now we have time for commissioner reports. Do we have anything from you, Mr. Bennett?
The only thing I was gonna shout out is just that I was talking to Nancy from Town this week. And they are doing some cool agricultural exhibits starting on April 16th. And just thought I'd shout it out at the Town Museum and for our neighbors over there. It'd be fun to go check it out.
Definitely.
I know.
Nothing to report.
Okay, I have something. So from the Wayback Machine, I found these. And you'll know they're from the Wayback Machine because they've got 56 West Main Street. And I was gonna formally ask, do any of you people want any of these? And we'll get Melissa to get us some new ones because we do have a little change in our budget.
Well, if you're going to lose the change in your budget. I mean, really, I mean, sure, I could either way.
Would not be relevant.
Okay.
You know.
All right, and could hand these to Miss Melissa.
So I know.
I have no objection to this, I'll just say that, so.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, these are in the works. For the meeting.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, yeah, don't get, I'm trying to get rid of the Lawler.
And then could you ask Kevin independently if he's interested?
Yes, so I have both set of your names, so raise your hand if you're wanting to, are you raised?
Yeah.
Media? Okay, and I'll ask Kevin.
Yeah.
Okay, ask Kevin if he wants. I just think, again, the more we get involved with the public, especially for a Flower and Jazz Festival, it'd be nice to be able to have them. They don't have our personal information, they go straight to the city, probably in a
Just
little
their name.
extension.
I'm still getting business cards too, I don't have them yet, so we're all working on it. They're ordered, not ordered. I only need one.
I have an entire box.
We'll just take it.
There's a whole bunch on the bed.
I was gonna bring the box just to be annoying, because I know you'll want that off your desk. All right, and then anything else, I did meet with the Historical Society and I talked a little bit about the 250th with what they're planning on doing. And, you know, they're in the midst of a strategic plan, so they're just very interested in doing something countywide with the 250th. They'll probably be maybe talking to commissioners. They could be doing a new exhibit. They have a lot of things up that they could be doing. They need their board and they need it to be part of it. It is part of their strategic plan, but they need to kind of bring it down to chunks. But they're very interested in working with us if we choose to go forward. And then also I talked with the DAR. I happen to be a member of the DAR and they have their own committee on the semi-centennial.
You have to know how to say.
Yeah, there's actually there's two ways to say it, if the world is gone with semi. So, the DAR is also interested, so this is a good chance to partner.
I think we should really talk to all these different organizations.
And, we have our Centennial Park up at Belgrove Square. I mean, it was given to the city at the 100th. There's a monument for the 200th, now for the 250th, maybe we could do a bookend,
Do something at the park, maybe.
we can talk about it. But kind of get your thoughts going and what we've done before and what we could do in the future. Melissa, do you have anything?
I would like to share that I was in Boston last week for the Main Street America Conference. It was my first time visiting Boston and
Boston.
yeah, Boston, and it's just beautiful, lovely. Got to visit the North End and Back Bay was primarily where I was. It was cold. I was like, Boston in March, really? It couldn't have been pushed to May or something. But it was lovely. We had sun most of the time. So, but just a relevant piece of information, the National Trust for Historic Preservation had an update on just something to keep an eye on. There's a Historic Tax Credit Growth and Opportunity Act that is before the House and Senate of a bill that was introduced March of this year. And it includes 4 permanent provisions and some temporary increases to add value to their tax credit. So I think there was a temporary increase potentially in the amount.
That's great because they run out of money every year.
Oh, they do, okay.
Yeah, you kind of have to belly up to the bar at the federal year.
Okay, so
Now's a good time actually for you because it's only halfway through their year starts October 1.
Oh,
Now's a good time, but if you wait till August, you'll have to wait a few more extra months till the new year.
I just wanna publicly state that I'm Googling belly up to the bar. Entirely new this project.
My dad was it.
Seriously.
Hang around with the right people.
Needs to leave the house more.
Thank
So
you.
that's it.
Anything from you, Mark?
Yes, I didn't know I wasn't being seen. I'm sorry. It was just a voice out there. And I apologize. Now I just get to see a big head. So it just, I don't know. Maybe I should turn it off. No, we have reached out to some of the businesses downtown regarding signage and have provided some notices of violation. So we're working with them to come into compliance. Melissa and I are going to start working on language that we want to provide to Historic District downtown Main Street regarding more of an educational element regarding what you need to do to start a business. Some of the requirements you have to go through, one of which is signage, water and sewer allocation applications. So just getting that out there because businesses we are still seeing them move into spaces without getting proper approvals. And as you can imagine, if they've signed a lease, if that use is not otherwise allowed, it can certainly create issues. The other thing I did get back the markup of the sign ordinance. I just haven't had a chance to look at it this week. I've been rather busy as acting city administrator. So I do want to look at that, and I'm wondering if the HTC wants to take a look at that next month. We can bring it forward.
That'd be great.
Chris, your thoughts? Okay, but that was it. We're starting to get to more of an active role for downtown and signage. I know that's important. We just haven't had the time to do it, but now I'm fully staffed. Again, I keep using that as an excuse, and it is a true reason that we're able to actually start doing things much faster and getting things accomplished. So thank you,
Mark.
Melissa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark, we do need to connect. I think you and me, or you and me and Melissa, about that grant, because I'm worried about not having enough time to actually pull it together. Because if it's due May 1st, there's actually a lot of time put into those. Time trials are like 40 hours, and even if we divide it up among the 3 of us, I don't want to wait till the last week, So whatever you can find out from the state, if there's some way I can help you.
Okay, I'll touch base with you next week and maybe we can set a time to get together too. Okay.
Yeah, or just a phone call even if you
Yeah,
break up the application into pieces.
Okay.
But it's a lot harder than it looks. I found this out the hard way by putting in that one just recently for the Westminster Cemetery.
I was gonna say, how does it compare to the MH?
Well, they're by the same agency, so
Okay.
they're gonna ask the same stinking
Okay.
questions.
Okay.
You can cut and paste for mine, but you're not gonna wanna, it's actually very digital, that one, so maybe there will be pieces you can cut and paste.
But getting support letters and other things too.
It takes time.
Yeah.
And here's a cheaty thing that most people don't realize. You can get the mayor to write a letter in support of yourself. And then in that letter, say all the wonderful things about yourself and how great this will be. But, you know, they'll be looking for letters of support. Your own mayor should be expressing support. Nobody ever thinks about that. If you're head of a nonprofit, your own executive director can send through, and I support this, and I'm gonna have 2 interns working on it, and we're gonna do more than just match with money. We're gonna have a desk for those interns, you know? And people never think to do that, but it's completely legit.
I did have one more thing, if that's okay.
Sure.
Tentatively scheduled for the upcoming mayor and common council meeting is the introduction of resolution to annex the Ellsworth Cemetery. So that is moving forward, which is nice. That would open them up for ability to apply for grants.
Now, I gotta ask you, what grants are they applying for that we're not? I don't know what they're talking about.
I do not know. My understanding, they are just unable to apply for grants at this time because they're not located within the city of Westminster. They need to be located. I don't know the full details about that aspect of it, but my understanding is they have to be within a municipality. So by annexing them in, I guess it just opens them up for more
Okay.
availability of grants.
I think I'm putting the dots together. So by being within the municipality, they can be within your plan as a historic resource to support. And the city is within the district of the heart of the Civil War heritage area. And they're trying to get that heritage area to also amend its boundary to include them so they're eligible for those grants.
Yes, this is the first step for them to move into the heart of the Civil War area.
That makes sense to me. I just couldn't fathom what they were talking about, but now I understand. It's only one specific grant fund, but it's a good one.
Okay.
It's the one I'm going after. By virtue of us being in the city. So I get it. Okay. All
And
right.
that's all I
Is
had.
anything else, Mark?
No, thank you.
We have public. Do we have any public comment?
Do not.
We tried. With that, then I'm gonna ask for a movement to adjourn.
So moved.
Great, then let's vote with our feet and adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.